Hi, this is Frank Radice at Red Touch Media with our continuing series on the future of content. And we have Alexandra Jewett, who is the Senior Vice President of Programming and Development for Debmar-Mercury, and Lonnie Burstein, who is the Executive Vice President of Programming and Production for Debmar-Mercury. You guys have kind of coined a new kind of TV, basically, and that's comedy game shows. Tell me a little bit about that as a theory of television.
We've kind of fell into, we had Family Feud. We distribute Family Feud, produced by Fremantle, which is obviously one of the all-time great television formats going back to the 70s, the Richard Dawson days. And if you remember back then, I remember back then, it was actually a funny show. With Dawson brought a comedic element to it. And then over the years, I think it got away from that a little bit, a more traditional game show host, and the show was floundering. I think that's pretty honest. I think no one would object to that word. And about 4 or 5 years ago, Fremantle made a very brave, courageous decision. And they put Steve Harvey into the format. And the show has exploded. It was, I believe, a 1.2 rating at the time when Steve was inserted into the show. We're about to hit a 6 rating right now. And it's the perfect blend of a format, which is a great game. I mean, anybody could play Family Feud. It's just a tremendously simple game to play. And then you take Steve Harvey, who's a brilliant comedian, and he's the perfect match for that format. And obviously they now manipulate the game, script the game, the script the questions. And the game, of course, is not scripted, but the questions are now scripted to elicit answers that allow for Steve's comedy. And what Fremantle does on the show is, in a 21, 22-minute format, they shoot 35, 40 minutes to let Steve go, to let Steve be Steve, and then edit it around that. And because of that, what we've ended up coming out with is a show that blends game and comedy. And, we actually pitch it to a lot of stations as, it's sitcom compatible because of that. Unlike, say, Wheel and Jeopardy, which are, monsters in their own right, but they're not comedic. They wouldn't play in a sitcom block, and stations were in great need because of the dearth of off-network comedies for the past few years of that type of show. So Family Feud has migrated from what was purely a daytime show 5 years ago to now an access show in the whole country.
So you're now doing something with Craig Ferguson. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it's the same principle, really. I think it's going to be a great companion to Family Feud, but also be able to stand alone because, again, it's a great, relatively simple game. And Craig Ferguson is a brilliant comedian, as is Steve Harvey, and the format of Celebrity Name Game is going to allow Craig to be Craig and to do what he does best. So we think we've got another potential Family Feud type of hit on our hands with Celebrity Name Game.
So not only do you do these sort of comedic games, but you also have talk shows. And I know that that's a specialty of yours because when we first met, you were doing the John Walsh Show. Tell me a little bit about the talk show genre and Debmar-Mercury.
Well, Debmar-Mercury, launched Wendy Williams as a test 6 years ago.
5 plus, yeah.
5+ years ago, and the audience responded and rolled it out then as a national launch. And the show is in its 5th season, and Debmar-Mercury and the stations have shown a lot of patience, and the show has grown, and we're now doing better than we ever have been doing. I think we know what the audience expects from Wendy Williams and the Wendy Williams show, and she and the producers deliver that every single day consistently, and the audience is really, they find the show, they stick with it, we give them what they want on a consistent daily basis, and it's a great fun show to watch, we think, and we've waited it out because we knew that Wendy Williams was a real talent.
It's funny because comedy plays a large part in the success of Wendy Williams itself. Wendy, while not a comedian, is naturally funny, and has this great ability of making light of the material and also of herself, and being incredibly engaging and likable because of that. And the show has exploded, again, if her show for 3 years, that really for 3 seasons showed signs of success around the country that gave us the encouragement to stick with it. And then last year really took off, and now this year is just doubling down on the success of last year. Now we've hit probably once we get last week's numbers in, I think it's going to be 3 out of 4 weeks hitting an all-time high rating as it just keeps on going higher and higher. And we're thrilled. Stations are thrilled. We're renewed for 3 more years. We're in season 5 and we're renewed for season 6, 7, and 8 right now. So
I think what's really important is that a talent and a show has to have a really unique footprint in the sandbox, because there's a lot of competition out there, and if you really are, if you're creating something that's unique for the market, that is also obviously enjoyable and likable host, then people will make an appointment to watch you.
Now, you don't just stick with the sort of the live to tape or live type of program as well. You have other types of programs that Debmar-Mercury distributes, is involved with.
Well, yeah, obviously there's and on the first run side, we kind of look at it as we have 2 businesses. There's the traditional first run, which is Wendy Feud and Celebrity Name Game coming up, and then of course there's the scripted comedy business, which is based on our unique 1090 format, which we've started. It's 7 or 8 years ago with the Tyler Perry sitcoms with TBS and the syndication. Those were huge successes. And we've tried other times. We've had Are We There Yet, which was TBS and syndication. Anger Management, of course, is the next big one, which is on FX currently right now and will debut in syndication in September. St. George debuts in March on FX, the 10 part, and hopefully that goes to the 1090. We're now just starting to tape the Kelsey Grammer, Martin Lawrence project, which will probably, the 10 will probably go on the air in late spring, early summer. And then hopefully that would be for syndication for, I guess it's 16 or 17, I can't even remember. So it's a great financial model for everyone, for the buyers, the cable networks, for our stations, obviously for us. So it's something we want to keep on cultivating, looking for the right talent. We have Kevin James signed. There's no project yet. We're looking for the writer and the story to meet with him, but that'll be probably the next one, hopefully, so.
As a producer, Alexandra, there's been a lot of changes in the way that television is interacting with the digital world. How is that impacting the things that you do at Debmar?
I think that we all have to think about programming for 3 screens, obviously, whenever we're rolling anything out. Being on Wendy Williams, for example, we're live, so that gives us a lot of opportunity in the social media universe in terms of, and you'll see that reflected in the content of our show. One of the hallmarks of the Wendy Williams show is the Hot Topic segment, and we'll do that for the first 20 minutes of the show and then get fan feedback for the last 2 minutes of the show. Viewers reacting to opinions that she had in Hot Topics. So you do see it reflected in the content, certainly. We're very active on Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr and Pinterest, and we're trying to have as many tentacles as we can out there, because we know that consumers are accessing content in all sorts of ways, and the younger the demo is, the less likely they are to be sitting in front of the television set during the day. So we're trying to reach them everywhere we can reach them, and in every way that we can. And we're learning, we're trying to keep abreast of it, because it's all changing pretty quickly. But it's fun. It's really fun to figure out different ways to deliver that content and reach the viewers.
And I think the social aspect, my newest theory that I've developed in the past 48 hours, but really what it's become, they're our foot soldiers. Our Facebook friends, our Twitter friends, our YouTube users are our foot soldiers in getting the message out about a show. And we're all old enough sitting at this table that we remember, Alexandra remembers a little bit, television was very much, the success of a television show was very much word of mouth, right? Show would debut on Thursday night, and everyone would be talking about it the next day. You'd call your friend, oh man, I saw this new great show called Cheers, it's fantastic, you gotta check it out. And success could happen in a week or two. Over the years of fragmentation, that went away. There was nothing to replace that word of mouth. 25 rated shows became 4 rated shows, and still being a success. But so the word of mouth, while it existed, would take longer. It could take 6 months, a year and a half to get the same kind of depth. what we're seeing now, because of our Facebook, we have 1.6 million Facebook friends and 1.2 million Twitter followers for Wendy, is that becomes that word of mouth. They're out there, we put something on Facebook, boom, 1.6 million people get it automatically, and they might be forwarding and people are seeing it. So it's filled that void, which has been there for about 15 years at least.
But it's really
important.
It's exciting to be able to reach the viewers in all of these ways that we haven't been able to before.
Well, thank you very much. Congratulations, continued success for Debmar-Mercury. This is Frank Radice with Lonnie Burstein, Alexandra Jewett.